So much has happened on site in the last couple of months, despite Perth's sweltering summer heat. In the last episode, the slabs had just gone down and we had a close look at the grey water ready plumbing. Now, well, we've got walls and a roof structure and the space is filling out beautifully. And I know they might look a little bit typical suburban with these homes, but you know what, that's part of the idea. But really there are so many cool sustainable design features just under the skin, and I'm so excited. So let me bring you up to speed. It's been a busy 6 weeks. Before the walls went up, termite mesh was installed as a physical barrier to avoid the need for chemical protection. Then it was the brick and timber frame walling. Next, the roof framing with pyrethrum treated plantation timber. Today, the whole family is having a walk through our new house. And to get my 3-year-old son's point of view, we're installing an ollie cam.
Now you just have to forget that it's there, okay? You won. Fives.
Here we go. I feel like I should carry her across the threshold, babe. But maybe just carry my daughter. Wow. How cool is this? We've got our bedroom on the right. And look, Ollie, we've got your bedroom on the left. This is going to be your new room. And here, wow. Check this out, our living room.
Oh, wow.
How cool
exciting.
is this? It's awesome.
Mwah. We go and have a look at the playroom?
That's pretty cool. And do you know what's going to come in these windows? Winter sun to keep your playroom nice and warm and cosy. Just thinking 3 months, we're going to be living here.
Can't wait. It's going to be awesome.
Very cool. It's just so wonderful to see the family come to the house at this stage and start to get a feel for the space, and I can just see it's going to work so well from that sort of family and sort of social perspective. But one of the other key things about this build, of course, is we wanted it to perform well thermally. Part of that is achieved by using thermal mass properly. And one form of thermal mass is brick. Brick gets a bad rap environmentally in some circles, mainly because of the amount of energy required to manufacture it, especially the kilning process. So I wanted to find out more about that. And that's one of the great things about this project. It's more than just building a place. I'm actually able to dig a bit deeper and find out more. This is one of the biggest brick production plants in the world, and I'm really keen to have a look around to find out more about one of our main building materials.
Basically, we're at the beginning of the process here in the clay shed. So basically it's the storage area for all the clays that we bring in from the outside pits.
Yep.
The clay is sourced from areas around the metro area, so we've got some pits up in Red Hill, some in 2J, and out towards the Bullsbrook area as well.
From here, the clay is crushed and mixed depending on the product requirements. Additives, such as pigments, sugar and sand, are mixed in to help with colour and texture. Of course, water is what turns the clay powder into a solid, workable form. It's amazing to see the wet clay is then compressed and pushed out as one continuous block, with all of the trimmed excess recycled back into the main mix. A roller adds texture, and sawdust is also sprinkled across the face of the brick, which prevents it sticking, and also adds more texture when it burns off in the kiln. Robots slice the block, stack the wet bricks, and after drying, push them into a massive 1200-degree kiln, where they're fired over a 4 to 5 day period. They're then stacked, ready for dispatch. So how many a day are you pumping out?
Yes, we do probably on average around 120,000 units per day through the hacker process here, or standard brick equivalents any rate. So
okay, and how many per annum is that? Give us an idea.
It works out to be we're on target for around 46 million this year.
And nearly all of that going into the Perth market.
Yes, exactly right.
So there's a fascination in the Perth building market with bricks.
Yeah, I think, yes. Majority of houses are, double course brick, aren't they?
Yeah,
so,
yeah, we're certainly using some in our house, so which is why I was so fascinated to find out how it's done. Ben, you're a good man.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time. Well, that was an absolutely fascinating process, and clearly it's a great material to build with. It's been used a long time, it's durable, the stuff's sourced locally. but I am also conscious that it's a very high energy material. So it's about weighing up all the benefits, including the great thermal mass properties. That is how it stabilises temperature internally. So we're going to focus on using it properly, putting it where we want that thermal mass, and looking at other materials like reverse brick veneer, stud frame, lightweight weatherboards with lots of insulation, so we get the right mix in the right place. But certainly I've learnt a lot about brick, there's no doubt about that. It's another day at the block, and building designer Griff Morris has dropped by to take a look at the progress. As I mentioned, we're using 3 different wall types for the houses, being stud walls, double brick and reverse brick veneer, and all of them are cleverly insulated. And Griff can explain more about how important this is. So tell us about insulation between brickwork.
What we're trying to do is isolate the internal brickwork to the external brickwork. So what we do is a layer of insulation which has foam in it, a closed cell insulator, and foil on both sides. So it's a radiant barrier and also it's a bulk barrier. So we're stopping the flow of energy from the internal to the external.
And is this now commonly used in the industry?
It is commonly used, yeah, particularly over the last few years since the codes have changed.
So how important is it to install the insulation to double brickwork correctly?
Critical, Josh. You have to isolate the mass inside the building from the external. So you need to bring that insulation up over the brickwork to the top of the roof where the plate is. Critical to do that.
And is that always done?
No. No, and mainly it's through training. It's lack of training. I've had it where people have cut it off at the top of the brick because it looked neat. Think they're doing the right thing, but in actual fact they're exposing the worst part of the brickwork to that radiant heat.
And the heat's coming from
the
roof
external,
cavity, yeah?
From the roof itself, because the roof is on an angle and it might be that far away from that brickwork on the internal leaf of the building.
So all of that heat's just driving and only having that single leaf of brickwork to stop it.
That's right.
So the insulation's got to come up and over to stop it.
That's it.
Makes so much
Yeah,
sense.
it does. Total sense. Yeah.
So talk us through the insulation materials in a reverse veneer brick wall.
Yeah, sure, Josh. You've got brickwork on the inside of this, and then you've got stud work. Inside that stud work, you've got some bulk insulation, and then on top of that, we've got a radiant barrier of foil. And then on top of that radiant barrier, we have battens, 20mm battens. And then on top of that, we've got this waterproof membrane and then the cladding. So what we've isolated, not just the flow of energy back and forth, but we've also isolating the radiant heat. Then we're trying to stop the airflow from the heat we've trapped in the brickwork in winter on the inside getting out as well. So you've got those 2 layers of insulation, both doing 2 different jobs, complementing each other and working in synergy, and you end up with a very, very efficient wall.
Now the important question, does it add much to the cost?
It depends on the house. Like your house has been designed so it doesn't add much cost because you've got this one wall across here. If you actually did multiple walls, and depending on the design of the building, your cost could be a bit higher. But in this situation, your cost isn't a great deal more, but the benefits are very high.
Getting the insulation right in the stud walls and getting it to suit a 10-star home is quite specific, and that's been quite hard because the guys haven't done it before. I haven't done it before to this extent. Yes, we'd all like to see these things happen in our homes, but we know we've already invented the wheel. We build out of double brick in Western Australia, and we've been doing it for a long time, you know. So as time goes on, as we build more of these projects, and as we realise the climate we're in, we have to, I think they'll be more acceptable.
Pretty much anything else in the house, we could have just gone, no, that's okay. You know, it's not what we wanted, but it'll be fine. But this is the one thing that we felt like we explained to every person that we came across throughout the design process, over and over, and because it seemed to be really difficult. It wasn't a standard thing to have full stackers that opened up. If we'd said bifolds, I think they would have got it, and it would have been easy. But we wanted these stackers, and
we haven't got them. And look, I don't want it to sound trivial, but what it's come down to is the final plans that were reviewed only had 2 arrows, right? 2 arrows like that saying, yeah, they slide, 2 windows slide that way. And we've been using this term double sliders because my understanding is...
I'm not sure about this wee business.
Yeah, if we're all right. Well,
I think I was across the stackers.
All right, and maybe I'm just a simple gardener here, but it's kind of like, to me, double sliders, slide once, slide twice, that's double sliders. But no, double sliders mean they slide like that. And anyway, and then sure enough on the plans, there's like 2 sets of arrows, or 1 arrow each way, and we signed off on them. I know Kellie's got some frustrations at the moment, and I can understand that. And it's probably good to talk about it and get it off our chests. But you know what, I reckon the frustrations are worth it. I think what we're trying to do here is worthwhile, and we've got a good message. And on that note, our video producer, Brendan Hutchens, had a great idea to invite some local pollies along today because we've got a state election here in WA just around the corner. So he's invited our local member, Peter Tinley. We've invited Lynn McLaren, and she's the Greens spokesperson for housing. We also tried to invite the Minister for Housing, but to no avail. Unfortunately, he can't make it. So anyway, let's see what Lynn and Peter have to say about what we're trying to do here. Hi, Lynn.
G'day, Josh. How are you?
Thanks for coming to take a look at our project.
Thanks for the invitation.
Peter, how are you? Welcome to the site.
Thanks
Can I
for
give you a
inviting me.
tour?
Appreciate it.
That's my pleasure. Constraints of time and budget of coming in on song saying this is going to be the same time, the same costs. And it doesn't have to be... This is a great opportunity for me to really hammer home what these houses showcase in terms of cost-effective and high-performance sustainable design. Something that I really hope can influence decision makers to inspire new ways forward. And I reckon I've won some support.
Well, what's so important about Josh is he's brave. He has the courage to actually put his own money up on his own house to prove the point. And there's no better example of what we should be doing in terms of that sort of commitment than what Josh produces.
The fact that he's demonstrating that it can be done quickly and easily with available materials, it's a really good demonstration for all of us, really. Because here we are in the middle of suburbia and we're delivering a 10-star home. That's pretty exciting.
I think one of the most important things that we'll get from Josh's house is the capacity to collect data over a number of streams that will allow us to test the model in such a way as to refute anybody's argument that this is not the way of the future.
To find out more about the Josh's House project and access all of the free info, go to joshshouse.com.au, where you can also sign up to the mailing list and watch all of our videos. And don't forget our Facebook page, where you can post your thoughts, ideas and questions. I'd love to hear